In 1997, I received a phone call while working for Church of Glad Tidings, and it was an unusual call. It was a call from a lady in Madera County near the Valley State Prison for Women, and she was ministering to women in prison, and she told me a story how women would come there in prison and they would happen to be pregnant, and they cared for them there, but then when they gave birth, many of them had no one to take their child, and they ended up losing their child to the state of California. And after they got out of prison, it'd be very difficult to get their child back. So the idea was presented to me of asking our church if we would be willing to take newborn babies, pick them up within 24 hours, and raise them until the mother got out of prison. We decided to do that, and for many years now, we have had a motto in the church: find a need and meet it, find a hurt and heal it. So it fit into our mission statement, and so we announced it at church. Would anybody be willing to take a child and care for the child up to a year, and be willing to then give the child and help the mother get settled with the child when they got out of prison. So over the next 10 years, we took about 170 babies from the Valley State Prison for Women in Madera County. And most all those children were given back to the mothers, but in some cases, the families that took the children ended up adopting the children. And so we now have children. The oldest child that we now have is 25 years of age. And today we're going to hear from the family, the mother that took that first child, and we're going to hear from that first child. So being that this was a brand new program in the church, it took everyone by surprise. Anything that's new is a challenge. And when we announced we have this opportunity, it took a while for people to catch it and catch on, but we had 7 children to place, and we ended up getting families for all 7 of those children. And then we began the process over the next 10 years of taking more children and integrating the children back with the mothers, and also caring for some of the mothers that decided to move back to this community, which was a total surprise to us. So today we're going to hear from Sarah Potts. Randy and Sarah Potts took the first child, and we're also going to hear from that child, Destiny Schooley, who happened to be in town here for the 4th of July weekend.
Hi, my name is Sarah Potts. I'm married to Randy Potts. We had 4 little boys when we read the bulletin at the church, asking to take care of these babies for their moms while they were in prison. I got a call from the mom about 3 days later, and she asked me if I would take her baby, and I agreed. And that was the plan. 5 weeks from then, Destiny was due to be born. At that time, we didn't know if you were a boy or a girl. And so we were waiting for that 5 weeks. However, she came a little bit early, 5 weeks early. So 2 days after I got the call from mom, I was at Madera Hospital picking her up. It was a pretty surreal event to walk into a hospital and walk out with a brand new little baby. And we brought her home and took care of her and made plans with mom at the Valley State Prison, and we would go over there and check in, and mom would see baby, and they would have some time to bond, and we would go on back home. And we went on this way for about 5 months, I think, before she got out. And then initially, Destiny went home with her mom, and she did come back into our care a little while later. And
did you say you babysat?
Yeah, you came back into our care for a little while, and then she got back out of prison again, and she was in our program here for about 6 months and working the program. She did pretty well, and I babysat while she was at work. And after a while, some things happened, and her plans changed, and things didn't work out the way she intended them to. And you stayed with us, and you've been with us ever since. and she's the most amazing daughter I could ever have. She was the first little girl I ever had. And after 4 boys, that was a breath of fresh air, having a nice little girl. And she has been awesome. Destiny's always been great at achieving her goals. She's had a lot of extracurricular activities, and she's been amazing to raise and hasn't given me a bit of trouble. So amazing experience.
I'm Destiny. I'm the baby. So growing up, I had a lot of siblings. It was crazy. It was crazy to be in such a big household. But every single one of my siblings and growing up in that environment has been the biggest blessing of my life. I have a friend in every corner, every age pretty much. And it's nice to know that whether I go to a brother or a sister, I know I have somebody that has my back. And growing up, being in an area, especially where, I was one of the only colored people, and being able to break the barrier of being in that environment, it was challenging, but to have my family and to have my siblings always be there and to have my back has been amazing. Um, Growing up, I got to do a lot of, like my mom said, I got to do a lot of extracurriculars. I was in band, I did basketball, I did wrestling, volleyball, all types of things. But the point is I got to grow up. I may not have had my biological parents, but I got to grow up with people that love me no less than, and it has really shaped who I am today. And I couldn't be more thankful. Um, Now that I'm 25, married on my own, um, I've gotten to meet my biological family as well. And as I reflect on that and reflect on my life, I know that I wouldn't have been able to have the good experience of meeting that side of me and that side of my family without my parents. And so, with this program that I was a part of, um, it really set my life up to be how it is. And I'm sometimes I think about it and I go, what if I did stay with, my parent, or, I got into the foster care system and I didn't stay with, my mom and my dad, what would my life be like? And, I don't know how it would have been, but I know that I was put with this family for a reason. And, it's been an amazing journey and I'm so thankful for it. And I appreciate you and dad a lot for
We love you.
being 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 the people that I needed.
Of
So,
course.
thank you.
And thanks for being the most awesome daughter ever.
So currently I live in Texas with my husband Tyler. I am a supervisor for a merchandising company. I enjoy outdoors. I love camping. I love hiking and anything to do with outdoors. I love being in the trees. I don't know what else I like to do. I do all types of things. 25, so I go to breweries and things. And one of my big passions actually is photography. I find that, again, nature is it's like my solace. It's my happy place. So I love to photograph that beauty. And so, yeah, what else? What else do I do? I do a lot.
She's kind of a natural leader. If she gets involved in anything, she gets in, gets the project started, gets it done, gets it moving.
Well, when you're in a big family,
she's the boss.
You got a pecking order, but you kind of gotta fight for your spots. You gotta kind of push your way through. So with being in a big family, that's a good strength that I've carried, and it's carried me into my career, and it's been cool. It's cool to have that kind of. If it weren't for my family, I wouldn't have those strengths. I wouldn't have the tenacity to want to keep going, or I feel like I wouldn't, what's the word I'm looking for? I wouldn't be as strong-willed and as strong-minded as if I weren't with them, because my family is very strong-willed and they stand up for what they believe in, and they instill those values. And so I feel like with them, you guys gave me a lot of good morals, good grounding you know.
And you took that and ran with it.
I
though.
took it and ran with
That's
it,
the
and-
important thing. Is you took those skills and you use them.
Yeah, exactly.
And use them well.
Yeah, so it's, you know, with, again, going back to being in a time where, you know, there weren't a lot of, you know, colored babies with, you know, white families, and being in elementary schools where I was the single, you know, colored person in the room, and, you know, having to break down barriers. And I've had to break down those barriers my entire life. And now as I'm older, realizing, you know, it's not about color. It's just about being with the people that love you and have compassion, and, you know,
It's about love.
it's about love. Yeah.
That's it.
It really is. It boils down to it. And with those adversities too, it's made me who I am today, and it's made me be a trailblazer in my generation, in terms of breaking down stereotypes, breaking down walls, and showing people, hey, we might be different, but we're not that different, and you can celebrate each other's differences and love each other regardless. So I love that, even though it was hard at the time growing up, that now that I can reflect back on it and go, you know what, it's made me strong, and I can teach other people to bring in others and to love just everybody. So it's, yeah.
So, you know, initially we thought we were just taking her on for a short time, and then we do think she was a huge blessing, but her blessing grew. So, you know, the state came in and they got an attitude that we didn't have. We weren't licensed foster parents, and that they didn't like that. So we went ahead and became licensed. Well, when we did that, then we started getting calls for other kids. And so then those kids needed homes, and sometimes they didn't go home, and then we adopted those kids as well. And so it opened the door, you know, her adoption opened the door for other kids to be adopted that we might not have came into contact with if that hadn't happened. And so not only was she a blessing, but the other kids were a blessing. So her being there, you know, opened the door for these other kids that might have stayed in the system. We have 7 adopted children. So, and we just adopted our last one 2 years ago. And we retired from foster care, but we did get a call from a former foster child, and we have her baby right now. And so as long as God calls us, we'll do what we need to do. And I feel like the Baby Out of Bondage program opened that door. You know, we weren't thinking of adoption before, and that's kind of how we got into it, you know. Started with her, and then she trailblazed that too.
I guess so.
So, yeah, she was the first one, and it just kept going.
So 25 years later, still rolling.
Yep.
Going.